Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So, holy excrement. Kabam closed down the Rebalance program. Now that is a move so genius, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Kind of ironically, I made a video yesterday talking about how Kabam effectively brought themselves in a corner with the balancing program and Dark Phoenix situation, because Dark Phoenix was the next champion up for Rebalance, and they would have significantly angered huge chunks of player base regardless of what they do. Whether they do adjust Dark Phoenix or they do not adjust Dark Phoenix. So it seems that instead of that, Kabam has chosen the coward's way out. Instead of making the next move in the vendetta that they have with the players, instead of carrying on the jousting or chess match with the players, and they just flipped the entire table. They just crashed out and took their ball and went home. They said, you know what? Nothing we can do here, will work, so we're not going to do anything, and we're going to go home. And it is quite sad state of affairs, because again, as I said in yesterday's video, this is their own decisions coming back to haunt them. Things like not touching up the Serpent, things like barely adjusting champions or not adjusting champions that should have been adjusted. And the Spider-Woman situation obviously was a massive point here. So, following our previous balance update with the announcement of change to Spider-Woman, the team has taken the time to meaningfully review your feedback and has since had many discussions regarding where the Rebalance program currently lives and how to best approach champion balance moving forward. That definitely means that there have been some huge whirlwind of feces around the Kabam meeting rooms, and there have been some disagreements, because this is typically the type of end result when there is no unity, right? Because if Kabam had like a coherent vision and somebody championing that, that's what the post would be about. The thing that we're taking our ball and we're going home typically type happens then when there's some big internal arguments, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that. That is speculation. I don't have proof of that. However, the end result's still the same. There's no more rebalancing program. Which it's kind of important to know how we got here as well, because initially there was no rebalance program. There was the buff program, and then some champions got rebalanced now and then type thing. Effectively, this was like, I believe this was like kind of result of Hercules getting released really when they decided that they need a rebalance program. And I was against the rebalance program, first of all, because it was replacing buff program. Buff program was actually meaningful. They did give us Kingpin, they buffed up the Mole Man, they buffed up Crossbones. A ton of champions that previously were bad and unplayable came into the game. Like every month we had 2 to 4 buffs, and many of them were significant that still affect the match today. Rebalance program was significantly more lackluster in terms of improvements. There's only a handful of champions that went from bad to great. There are a couple of champions that went from, good to slightly better. But for most part, there are like 3 big arguments I had against the rebalance program, and I think they all just about held up perfectly. Number one is Kabam should test their things more. It shouldn't be up to the player base to effectively work as a beta test for them. There shouldn't be, that shouldn't be the measure of quality and standard that Kabam's held to. If they are releasing the champion and they have their lead times and they're struggling with it, they need to increase their lead times. At this point, this game has over 300 characters that can easily go to releasing 1 champion a month, for instance, and take more time balancing it. And if they want to ever go back to 2 champions a month, they can do that, but hire more people to design more champions, and they have longer time to work on it and actually time to test them and balance them prior to the release. Because it to me seems unethical when people are asked to spend their money, resources, attention, and time to acquire champions that effectively get adjusted, when Kabam could do that themselves by increasing their workforce. And that is what I should have done from ethical standpoint, in my opinion, in the first place. The second argument was always that whenever a champion does get a tune-up, which is quote-unquote a positive result for the players, it almost never actually matters Because, you can take a look at Patriot, for instance. There were like 7 people who used Patriot before his balance. Patriot got balanced up, and there's maybe 8 people who use Patriot now, because objectively he's still a shitty champion and they barely do anything on these tune-ups. There are a couple of exceptions, but in general, when a champion gets tuned up, it gets tuned up from being a very bad champion to being somewhat bad or a mid champion. And that helps just about nobody. But when a champion gets tuned down, they always tune down the champion that everybody is chasing, that majority of the people have, and it automatically affects everybody. So any negative tuning effectively will always affect like just about everybody in the player base, and any positive one will affect barely anybody. So again, there are a few exceptions on that, but that was another argument kind of against the rebalance program in my eyes, because it was always like a win-win situation for Kabam and lose-lose situation for the players. And the third argument was because I never had any faith in the competence and the balance program being actually fair and doing its job properly. And I think, Kabam proved that themselves. Again, when they didn't adjust Serpent, that was the biggest spit in the face of the players, because Serpent is one of the most overpowered champions in the game everywhere. And Kabam called that balanced, and the same breath they call Leader balanced, they call Destroyer balanced, they call a whole bunch of champions that barely see any catalysts and resources, and they consider them to be balanced as well. And that was the situation of Kabam wanting to have their cake and eat it too. And, every idiot could see that coming, that Kabam is going to make artificial arguments to do whatever they want, or barely do anything when they should do something. So those were the 3 big arguments, and I think, again, every single one of them 3 have come to reality. I'm going to finish the post here, but my thoughts on the balance program right now have kind of shifted looking at the realities of today. Again, I wish we would be in different place with MCOC, but let's read careful. Let's read further. After careful consideration, we have made the decision to bring the current rebalance program to close. When the rebalance program first launched, Malcolm's Champions was in a very different place than it is today. Then the game evolved tremendously since then, and the program no longer aligns with our current needs. You'll still see the upcoming batch update with Falcon, Hawking Taurus, Toad, Spider-Woman, and Deathless Vision, but there will be no additional changes through the rebalance program, nor any ongoing monthly updates. As always, we reserve the right to adjust champions if that critically impact the game health. That said, our balance philosophy will return to its pre-programmed roots. Thoughtful, targeted interventions and bug fixes when truly necessary. And fair enough, let's see how it looks in practice. Looking ahead, we'll be exploring several different systems to maintain a healthy meta and game experience, and to find something that best suits the community. We want to ensure that players feel that their time and investments are fully respected, while also giving us tools to address major pain points and swiftly and fairly. We plan to share more details in the coming months, and we will be communicating any new approach well in advance before anything impacts the future of champions. Thank you for your passion and dedication to the contest. And so that is where we're moving forward. Basically, just as before, Kabam says that, something's going to be crazy and broken. We're going to tune that with like emergency updates. But other than that, there's going to be no tune-ups. Now, I wish Kabam did speak here on what's happening in the champion buffs. Because, Kabam is fairly frequently now, coming up with random buffs or announcing some buffs for like either special events or their monthly live streams. There's like unexpected buff popping up here and there just about every month now. And it would be good to know what's happening with that, because that was kind of like the second half of the balancing program, or at least it was always intended to be, where if there's nothing to balance, Kabam was meant to buff up champions and use, the quote-unquote the balance time into the buff time. And that was the entire argument why Kabam took away our buff program in the first place. So it is quite annoying to see that this program went from buff program to balance program and buff program when there's not much to balance, to buffs are not even being mentioned. And that is, again, a big question that I hope Kabam answers in, short time. Because it is critical. Again, for those who remember the origins of the buff program, that was just about the best thing going on in MCOC. And one of the things that made you look forward to every update. When Kabam buffed champions that you already had, and you effectively felt like you just found 50 quid on the floor because you have a champion kind of sucks, and you never know, Kabam might do a good job and the champion might be good now, like they did with Kingpin, like they did with Crossbones, like they did with a ton of other champions. And I would love to see that again, at some way anyways. But the final thoughts is this is also, again, obviously the time when, to me, it looks like Kabam's bailing out, basically. Because Kabam has effectively fucked things up badly. And everybody knows it. Hence the video that I made yesterday where there was no way for Kabam to do anything in regards of the upcoming champions and not piss off the players. And the reason why Kabam is so screwed, in short, effectively, is because champions like Dark Phoenix exist. They sell Dark Phoenix for close to $1,000, so if you got Dark Phoenix as a 7-star and Kabam tunes her down, you're going to be pissed off because you spend a lot of money for that. And then objectively, existence of Dark Phoenix in her current form just, generally provides for a miserable experience when you have to fight her. And the same goes for plethora of different champions. And so again, if Kabam doesn't adjust Dark Phoenix, people without Dark Phoenix especially will be pissed off. And if they do adjust Dark Phoenix, people with Dark Phoenix will be pissed off. But again, to a similar degree, the same thing goes for like Yelena. Yelena is also like a toxic defender that you don't want to fight. Like if you have a counter, great, you can do well. If you don't have a counter, you die. Champions like that should not exist in MCOC. But they do now, and Kabam has refused to rebalance a whole bunch of them. So going forward, none of them getting touched, and with the current trends of Kabam releasing OP defenders, I do think that that is a cause for worry. Because again, champions like Dark Phoenix are allowed to exist, live, and God forbid Kabam creates more of them, and well, they have been. It's just making the game worse. And again, without some sort of emergency intervention, I don't know what is the current way forward. Because even if Kabam stops, making bullshit defenders like that are just flat out stupid and not fun and unfun. And it's not that hard. I have an issue with hard defenders. I think, defenders like Jean Grey are perfectly fine. She's an annoying defender that you can beat with a variety of champions. And, when opponent drops Jean Grey, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to lose a round unless you draw one of the 3 champions against her. But again, that is an entirely different discussion. What I wanted to move forwards to it, Kabam genuinely kind of picked the best time for them to bail out and potentially the worst time for the players. Because again, Dark Phoenix and Yelena, that was a very current and actual conversation whether they're going to get adjusted. So evidently, no change is made to either, which automatically will piss off a lot of people who would have wanted to see Dark Phoenix get tuned down. Additionally, they're announcing this right after they have released a plethora of champions that could be good with the tune-up. And again, I made videos specifically about that, where we have had effectively like 4 months of fairly mid or unimpressive champions that has made the game more dull. And now with the rebalance program going away, like Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight's Summoner Choice champion that is about as valuable as freaking Patriot. Or, okay, slightly better, but whatever. Base idea is that not many people care about him. And then again, at the same time, do I have any faith at all whatsoever that Kabam would have done a decent job balancing him to a level that, he would be a relevant champion? I guess I don't, so I'm personally not particularly hanged up on that. Because again, even if the balancing program did exist, it basically never or seldom ever made any meaningful impact to the champions to a point where they go from irrelevant or niche to useful in general day-to-day. So let me know what you guys think. I still kind of find it funny. Like, I haven't fully processed the implications this kind of brings. I haven't considered this from every single angle, but I'm more than willing and eager to hear your thoughts on this as well. Because as with much of what Kabam does, there's some good and there's some bad in this. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next